For those of you who did not attend Sunday school, the serpent in the Garden of Eden tempts Eve into eating the forbidden fruit, an act of defiance against God. That one moment alone ties snakes directly to deception, sin, and blasphemy. From the beginning, they already had a nasty reputation, and that idea never really went away. Across multiple games in different genres, I found that snakes keep showing up as symbols, defiance against gods, against nature, sometimes even against their own family.
Together we will devour the very god.
Rykard from Elden Ring is easily the best example for today's topic. He is literally a giant grotesque snake man who is known as the Lord of Blasphemy. The main order in the game is known as the Golden Order. Rykard is born straight into that system as the son of Queen Rennala and Radagon of the Golden Order. So he's not just involved, he's deeply woven into it. He believed that the Golden Order was oppressive and that true power came from devouring the gods themselves, basically turning blasphemy into a form of liberation. He listened to the new hit song Vor by Sleep Token and came up with an idea: feed himself to the God Serpent, an ancient traitor that resides inside Mount Gelmir, and became one with the serpent itself. He consumed his champions, his followers, and eventually became this giant disturbing monstrosity that would defect many of his loyal servants. And many of them would attempt to kill their lord, but would end up devoured, a part of his family inside the serpent. By merging with the god-devouring serpent, Rykard replaced the celestial life cycle of the Erdtree with a gluttonous eternity of consumption. I think an interesting detail here is that his title, Lord of Blasphemy, is not from our perspective. It's from the Golden Orders. We have no obligation to the greater will. As a matter of fact, my character Flaccid Wizard was eating a bunch of dragon hearts in this playthrough, so I was loyal to that. But my point is, we don't view him as blasphemous. I mean, isn't it strange that a game already predetermines his blasphemy from a perspective that's not even ours? It's because he's a snake, a traitor, a physical mockery of the greatest religion inside Elden Ring. Of course he would be viewed as blasphemous, and the snake-like imagery fits perfectly here. See, here's the thing. When a character rejects a god or a system, developers visually translate that into something that already means that. Snakes are a great symbol for this because I've already mentioned the story in the book of Genesis. But this also translates into the biology of a snake. A slithering animal that crawls on its belly without any limbs. It's close to the ground, it moves in silence. It's not exactly something you would associate with anything positive like power or royalty. Rykard is a more outward, politically blasphemous snake, but in the same game, inside Shadow of the Erdtree, Messmer the Impaler embodies a deeper snake, one that represents the theme of sin. See, Messmer was born with an evil serpent coiled within him, a force simply known as the Abyssal Serpent. Unlike Rykard, who chose his path, Messmer's serpentine nature is a cursed birth, a fact that led his mother Queen Marika to pluck out his eye and replace it with a seal of her grace, to keep the beast at bay. The funny thing is, Messmer's relationship with snakes is sort of paradoxical. He is accompanied by winged serpents who are described as wise friends, acting as limiters to the more malevolent base serpent within him. This distinction is crucial for understanding the hierarchy of blasphemy. The winged serpent appears closer to the Crucible, the primordial chaotic form of life that preceded the Golden Order, while the base serpent is a wicked entity that is shorn of light. Again, the snake-like imagery is tied to a curse, to something that the game views as an abomination. Once enough damage is dealt, after doing a Dragon Communion only run, Messmer shatters the seal, forsaking the grace and protection of the divine, and fully embracing the Abyssal Serpent within. It's an act of defiance against his own mother that abandoned him in favor of the darkness that was born within him. His final words, "A curse upon thee, mother," confirm that the serpent is the voice of the Forsaken, the only form left to those who have been bereft of light. We'll come back to FromSoft because, for some reason, every multi-game essay that I've come up with so far, these games just fit perfectly. But you know what? I'm a spoiled brat, and I want to talk about Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter's lore is a bit obscure in the older games. There's a lot to discover, right? But most would say they just exist, and we would hunt their skins for cool-looking armor. However, after looking deeper myself, There are hidden themes I found not just in their gameplay, but in their equipment as well. Dalamadur is one of the largest monsters in the entire franchise. He's an elder dragon that coils around the peak of mountaintops, also known as the Serpent King Dragon. His boss fight is truly kinda boring, but that's not the point. We talked about blasphemy in the traditional sense, a rebellious act or disrespect against what's considered holy or righteous. Here, the snake, ironically, is the deity, which in and of itself is blasphemous because, again, from a Western biblical perspective, snakes are evil, so that in and of itself is blasphemous. But in Monster Hunter, it is something that is worshipped or considered divine by some people, and we are the ones committing the blasphemous act against these godlike serpents. The description of Shah Dalamadur's weapons depict the serpent shaping existence itself. Very similar to the Bible, again, with how God created the universe in 7 days. The Charge Blade says, "With the 10th heat haze, Shah Dalamadur invented fantasy to help us find reason." The Bow states, "With the 14th sunrise, Shah Dalamadur created the light that begins everything." And the Sword and Shield, "Third came twilight, and Shah Dalamadur parted the golden waves and created land." These descriptions are, first of all, really awesome. I love the imagery here. But it's clear that there was an ancient tribe of some sort within the world of Monster Hunter that believed Dalamadur to be a god who created everything. However, its presence is an ecological catastrophe, its movements causing tremors, and its death creating entire ecosystems. The Rotten Vale, a good portion of it at least, is a Dalamadur skeleton. The hunt for Dalamadur is not about sin in the biblical sense, but about the blasphemy of mortals attempting to kill the very crucible of life. By slaying Dalamadur, I was participating in the Elder Crossing, the cycle of life and death that even gods must obey in this universe. Now, Shah Dalamadur is basically a Dalamadur that has recently shed its skin, but it represents the eternal recursive nature of a serpent, a creature that is constantly reinventing its own divinity. Now, snake gods are not an uncommon thing, even in real-life religions. I mean, Sekiro also features a giant serpent, one who acts as a mini-boss. In the lore, the serpent is worshipped by the residents in Ashina. It's a branched pathway towards immortality, an alternate route that does not require the divine dragon. To a Western audience raised on biblical principles, a snake deity feels like an inherent paradox. We are conditioned to see the serpent as the ultimate symbol of sin, but seeing it somehow worshipped in these games feels inherently blasphemous. But FromSoftware and Capcom are drawing from different mythological wells, one where the paradox isn't about morality, but geometry. What really intrigues me is the fact that many religions view verticality as a righteous or holy path. Think of the Erdtree. It reaches from the ground into the very sky itself. It's seen as divine. However, snakes are horizontal by nature. That contrast implies that snakes are not holy and are worthy of only death. And yet, Dalamadur continuously sheds its skin, climbing mountaintops to reach the peak. The serpent in Sekiro bridges giant chasms. Snakes are blasphemous because they are both. They crawl horizontally in the dirt, but they shed their skin to rebel against death, and they wrap themselves vertically around trees and mountains to reach the sky. I remember when I first played through Resident Evil 1 for the very first time about 5 months ago. I get it, I'm very late to the party. But I was excited to finally encounter one of the main bosses I've seen throughout the years, but never had a chance to fight myself until now. Yawn the Snake. You fight him twice in the game actually, and each time it's a rather easy shoot it until it dies scenario, but a giant snake is still a giant snake. Yawn represents the Blasphemy of Science, an experiment gone too far. It was a regular snake, called an adder, injected with an unknown strain of the T-virus. Yawn grew to an immense size, but was hormonally unstable. It became too aggressive to control, but it was an ambitious attempt at creating a bioweapon that resulted in the death of multiple scientists. Look, I get it, there are many creatures that can represent the blasphemy of science in Resident Evil. There is an insect-human hybrid known as the Chimera, and I hate it. But Yawn stands out precisely because I think it's simple. It's not complex, it's not a laboratory-stitched abomination, nor is it a manufactured super soldier like the Tyrant. It's just an ordinary venomous adder that Umbrella decided to inflate into a monster for war. This is what happens when humanity decides to play God. Umbrella's main creator, Oswald Spencer, wanted to go even further. He wanted to use the virus to force the artificial evolution of a brand new, genetically superior race of humans. Yawn is simply a byproduct of that ambitious dream and arrogance, and one that just so happens to be a giant snake, which does fit into today's topic. But that's just one example. In Bloodborne, there is a place after Vicar Amelia known as the Forbidden Woods. And what just so happens to be inside these woods that are forbidden? Piles and piles of snakes. You know, sometimes these videos write themselves. The Forbidden Woods is a massive forest sitting on the outskirts of Yharnam, acting as a buffer between the city, the Forbidden Grave, and Bergenworth. It's home to a village of outcasts who were completely chased out of the city, and now it serves as a massive nesting ground for giant, venomous, parasitic snakes that have been using the local denizens as live hosts. Thus, the whole place was locked down and sealed off by the church to prevent their dirty secrets from escaping. The snakes have mutated and conjoined together, even fusing with the locals, becoming human bodies with a bouquet of snakes as a head. It's a disturbing place, and that says a lot considering this is the same game with a centipede vagina monster. That's not accurate, but it's what it looks like, okay? Even the boss, the Shadows of Yharnam, are affected as well. The snakes have a very interesting biology to parasites, considering they kinda merge with their host and take over their bodies under immense stress. We see this in the villagers located deeper within the woods. After enough damage has been dealt, the snakes burst out of their heads. But the Shadows of Yharnam, when at about half health, the snakes explode from their chest. They gain the ability to wield them as an extension of their very being. When those massive, giant vipers burst violently out of their chests, it's quite the visual punchline of cosmic blasphemy. The human form has been reduced to a disposable skin. These snakes are a blasphemous manifestation of cosmic pollution, proving that when humanity tries to steal the power of gods, the horizontal dirt will always rise up to swallow them whole. The whole reason this began was because the Healing Church were conducting experiments among the denizens inside the Forbidden Woods, which resulted in the snakes and the population's mutation. It is a terrifying reminder that experimentation is never a good idea, especially when combined with a lust for power and ascension. You know, after writing this script, I find it strange that these snakes are actually way more parasitic beyond just the Forbidden Woods. The Abyssal Serpent inside Messmer can be considered a parasite. Rykard Serpent is kinda like a reverse parasite, but the same biology still applies regardless. It gives a whole new meaning to blasphemy. Bonding with something deemed disgusting or unholy is a blasphemous act on its own. Merging together with snakes is the ultimate act of rebellion or desperation of sin. These snakes are more than just symbols. They are a tool for blasphemy, a weapon for a rejected savior. I think snakes always look like blasphemy because Western religions deemed them as so. Their biology is strange when compared to most other creatures. Even a fish makes more sense because it's in a completely different environment. But snakes are on the same ground as us, yet they slither, they hide, they poison, and swallow their prey whole. Maybe that's the real reason snakes always become symbols of blasphemy. They violate the natural image of what humanity considers holy. Dragons fly, angels ascend, gods stand tall above the world. But snakes stay low to the dirt, while still somehow reaching divinity anyway. They shed their skin like they're escaping death itself. They consume everything whole. They merge with bodies, infect kingdoms, wrap themselves around sacred trees. In video games, blasphemy is rarely just evil. Usually it's something trying to transcend the limits it was given. And snakes embody that perfectly. They are creatures associated with the ground, with sin, with parasites and poison. Yet, over and over again, they keep trying to become divine. Maybe that's why developers always return to them, because no creature represents the fear of corrupted ascension better than a serpent. And with that, thank you for watching. I love snakes, for the record. Emerald Tree Boa is one of my favorites. It's freaking awesome. Future me, put up a picture. if you're not lazy enough. But yeah, thanks for watching, seriously. I appreciate every single one of you, and I know that my variety of games is still kind of the same. I get it. I'm currently playing more games to add more to my roster, so that when I talk about future themes in the future, I'll have more games to pick from. So I get it. Work with me here. The next one is definitely going to have a lot more variety because it's a little bit horror-based. You'll see what I mean. But if you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and to subscribe for more content like this. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone, and of course, stay safe.